Hi, this is Chris Grimm, and this is Deep Work Fast. Today, I'm going to talk to you about patience and how you can have more of it. First, let's talk about what patience is and what it's not. So, most people believe that patience is something that you're born with, like the color of your eyes. And so, along with that, people believe that they are stuck with their ability or inability to be patient. And I'm here to tell you today that's not true. Patience is something that you can develop, you can cultivate more of it. The bad news is you can't learn it unless you are doing it in situations where you're feeling impatient. Yes, so doing it in a fake situation, like let's pretend so you can build this new skill, or reading it in a book and thinking that's going to get you more patience just because you want it or other people want you to have it, doesn't work. We only can learn to be more patient when we're in the moments that we're not feeling patient. Now, let's talk about why that's hard, because in those moments, I've been coaching people for about 28 years. So I know when you're feeling impatient, you're probably also feeling frustrated. Maybe you have disappointment. I don't know. But there's often in our impatience is that feeling or a set of feelings where we want the current situation to be different than it actually is. So what patience is not is that we're going to magically, be able to just tolerate things and stay in it longer. And I know when I was young, I remember my parents telling us to be more patient, and it was kind of like, be quiet, sit there and deal with it. That's not what we're doing. So what I am saying to you as a leader, as a parent, in all the roles that you play, what I want you to be able to do is to be in the moment, stay in the moment with ease and grace. That means don't get hijacked by the impatience, the frustration, or whatever the negative emotions are that might be taking over your body. I also don't want you to stuff those down and have to deal with them later, because most likely that's going to come out either in that meeting or in that conversations. The other people are going to feel that vibe. It's going to come out in your body language. It's going to come out in the energy that you have. It's going to come out in your words. And that creates more problems. That could create conflict, resentfulness, tension now between you and that person. If it's in a meeting setting at work, if you're the boss, that can create a whole bunch of downstream effects where you get a reputation for someone who can't manage their own emotions, anger, and it makes people fear you. You don't want that. I hope you don't want that. So let's talk about how you develop more patience in the moments when you are feeling impatient. The first thing is that you have to make an agreement with yourself to stay there. And I mean mentally and physically. So first, you don't get up and walk out of the meeting or into the conversation. Second, you stay there. And mentally, you don't go into the future and you don't allow yourself to go into the past, right? So that's what our mind does, by the way. Our mind and our body, if triggered enough, if our fight or flight is triggered, will leave. And the mental part of it is oftentimes when our ego is bored, or our mind is annoyed that we have to sit there through whatever it is and we don't agree, we don't want to hear what the other person is saying. Maybe we had different expectations about what the reality of this was. We want it to be over. And so our mind goes somewhere else. It escapes, finding something that feels more meaningful to you. And that's not going to be helpful if you want to develop more patience. You have to actually stay there. So how do we do that? There is something called mindfulness. You've probably heard about it. It's interesting. I've been coaching people a long time, and still today people believe mindfulness is a woo-woo term that goes with yoga and meditation. And while that term is associated with many of those things, I do want to tell you it's highly relevant for you as a leader, as a parent, a team member, in your life, regardless of what you do all day, every day. Being mindful means, first and foremost, that in this present moment, you think about what you're thinking, right? You are mindful. You pay attention to what your mind is doing, and you keep it here instead of letting it go to all the places that I was talking about before. And so The way you can expand your ability to stay in those moments in a way that feels more pleasant than frustration and impatience is give yourself a toolkit of grounding activities. And grounding activities are what they sound like. They are things that keep us here, grounded in this now moment. One that is my favorite, I can teach it to you really quickly, is a self check-in. I do a self check-in, and I hope you do, with 3 parts of my current experience. EMP, emotions, mental check-in, and physical check-in. You can do them in any order. You could do PEM if PEM is easier for you to remember. So what you do is you create a little scale. This is all going on in your mind while you're staying in this room. All you do is you say to yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so great, 10 being awesome, the way I want to feel, the way I want to think, the way I want my body to have the sensations, how I want to be experiencing this moment, and you give yourself a score in those 3 things. I'll do it for you right now. I'm going to start with physical. Right now, I'm hungry. My stomach is growling, and I'm also a little parched, like I need a drink. So I'm going to give myself a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, I could fix it. I could take a drink right now. I'm going to keep going for the sake of teaching you. Number 2, mental. Well, if you're in a meeting and you're feeling frustrated and you wish it was over, you might give yourself a 3 or a 4. That's okay. Just give it a score. Be here right now. The last one is emotions. Well, like I said, maybe you had a lot of thoughts that were making you feel like, I want this to be over. I hate that guy's PowerPoint. He should shut up. I'm really angry that he didn't let me read the PowerPoint before the meeting. You know, all the thoughts create all of those feelings. Feelings in your body, and then emotions that you're labeling, whether you know it or not. That's what our mind does. This whole exercise is to have you take a snapshot of the experience you're having now. That keeps you in the present. You don't have to like it. It allows that energy that you're feeling, that energy that was going into impatience, to stay with you and to be processed. Your mind loves to process things. You're a problem solver. So I promise the self-check is a really great way for you to stay here and pay attention to yourself so that that energy can move and you can start to pay attention differently. If after your self-check you don't feel better and you can't re-engage in what's happening, another thing you could do is move your body. So some people call this fidgeting. I know a lot of people who didn't realize until they started trying this that just adjusting their body in their chair, maybe something like that, maybe picking up a pen, maybe taking a drink of their water, whatever it is, adjusting physically moves that impatience. It gets your body back in now moment, right? You become more present and you move away from all of those ruminating thoughts that come along with that impatience. The third thing that you can do is breathe deeply. So if you've ever listened to Deep Work Fast, I am a champion for breath work, but also just for simple, deep breathing. Now, what I don't want you to do is show your impatience to people by going like this. Remember, we're trying to stay neutral to positive. So the way you do that is just owning that experience and sitting there and doing maybe a little box breathing. Box breathing, if you think of a box, has 4 sides, a square, that you breathe in, you hold, you breathe out, and you hold again. You don't have to show anybody you're doing that. No one has to know. It's just a way for you to stay in the now moment and to calm yourself down. Box breathing is used by Navy SEALs. It's actually been around a really long time. You can Google it if you are unfamiliar. It's a wonderful way for you to center and ground yourself here. And if any of those impatient thoughts were trying to make you mad, or like I said, escalate into other emotions that later you're not going to want to express, they're just going to cause problems, we can box breathe in this moment. So that's 3 things you could do to keep yourself here. Another thing that you can do is shift your expectations for the rest of this experience. So if you have to stay there, if you're not in control of this meeting or conversation or whatever it is, and you need to stay in it, and you think, okay, I'm gonna do this for 10 more minutes. I'm gonna do this for the next 30 minutes where I'm in this. How am I gonna stay here? Then I want you to think about, okay, I'm gonna set a goal for myself for this next period. If what's going on is super intolerable to you, you might have to set little goals. Like for the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna take notes so I can stay here, so I can really pay attention to what that person is saying and stay engaged in it and not let my mind go elsewhere. For some people, they decide, okay, I'm going to ask more questions, or I'm actually going to come into the room in a new way, in a neutral to positive way, so that I can participate and be less impatient. All of these techniques work. Now, you might be skeptical. You might think, I don't want to do that. When you're ready, and I promise there will be times that you realize that impatience is not getting you what you want, right? I know you want to be credible. I know you want to be confident. I know you want to feel like the situations in your life are places where you have some level of influence and control. We all do. So if you're thinking about work situations, try some of these techniques. I promise they will make your experience better, and because your experience is better and you're expanding that patience, other people are going to notice. They're going to interact with you differently. I promise. If they don't, send me a note and I'll help you a little bit more so that you can tweak more things and be more present and be more patient regardless of what's going on around you. And that's kind of the goal. I want to leave you with this. Like, my goal in coaching you and everyone the last 28 years is really so you can be the best that you can be. And I believe the best of us is when we can be neutral to positive, regardless of everything that's going on. Because when we are neutral to positive, we are more calm. We are more clear-headed. So when it is time for us to speak, if it comes that we have to make a decision, we're doing it from a place that is a lot better than maybe super negative or in intense emotions, because our anger, our frustration, our disappointment, all of those emotions tend to create like a filter that not only makes us say and do things that we can sometimes regret, but it projects onto the other people things that often are not true, right? It's not helpful, and it creates a lot of drama in the workplace. So let's work on your patience. This is a skill. So if nothing else today, you learned that you weren't just born with a patience capacity. You can be more patient. And I hope that you want to be more patient. You've been with me this long, so I'm guessing that you do. Grab that blog. It's in the link below. It's a quick read. It has more tips than what I just went through with you. It also has a recommendation of a book called The Patience Advantage, and it summaries that so that if you want to really dive into this topic, maybe it's one of your goals for this year, go for it. And I will see you next time on Deep Work Fast. Don't forget to grab that blog. Okay, bye.